So today we're just going to have a little bit of a look at the Borderlands 4 gameplay trailer. This has been out for a few weeks, so this is not a reaction video. I've seen it a number of times, but I don't necessarily know that much about it. I've got a number of thoughts that I'd just like to share, slow things down, take a little bit more of a look at this, and just spitball for a while. So this is meant to be Queen Callus, and she is the leader of these psychos. These psychos are called the Rippers. You've got this red glow to her eyes and her armor. There definitely seems to be something where there's maybe, I don't know if it would be a technological virus or if it would be sort of just a connection to just the technology itself. But all of these psychos have either red eyes or red glow on their mechanical components. They all have mechanical components, so it sort of gives a vibe almost of what's it called? In Destiny, you had this red technology stuff with the Fallen. Why can't I remember what it's called? Either way, it definitely feels like the technology here is a component of this and is actually empowering these psychos, these Rippers. So that'll be interesting to see. I guess that means we're getting just a different iteration on the bandits. They're going to be a lot more of a threat than before. They may have a lot of extra powers and abilities, meaning that their movement mechanics could be very different. So that's quite exciting. That could be a very good change, just a nice evolution of the games. When I first saw Queen Callus, I definitely was a bit concerned that this was going to be some alternate timeline and this was going to be some alternate version of Angel, and instead of the wings you've obviously got the arms coming out. I do wonder whether maybe that is some indication that she's got this cloth and she's got all this armor over her. She's very, very reconstructed. I do wonder if maybe she's going to be a siren. That's going to be something that is revealed to us later, and these robot arms are sort of the equivalent of her wings. And maybe that's even how this connects. Maybe she's a siren that has some connection to technology, and maybe that means that these robotic components, she's able to then control her minions, sort of similar how Maya has that ability to control people in Borderlands 2. So I wonder whether this sort of red energy in the technology on herself and all the Rippers is maybe actually like her main power. So maybe she's using the technology to use her siren powers with the technology in order to kind of control and maybe not even control, just to empower all of these bandits to make them more powerful, and I guess maybe have sort of a bit of a hive mind thing, so she's able to control them more or whatever. But I have a suspicion that that might be the case, but that's just my thoughts. Either way, these look cool. There's a nice variety of the kind of bandits and enemy types here, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking up, we see Elpis that has smashed through the atmosphere, and my understanding is that this is basically because when Lilith teleported Elpis, she's somehow smashed into this hidden planet. So this game, I think, is mainly going to be on this planet, but this planet is actually called Kairos, so it's a place we haven't been before, and it's meant to be a place that is completely under the control of a guy called the Timekeeper, which is this guy we're about to see here, standing above his troops. And my first thought when I saw him was, I really hope that's not an alternate timeline version of Roland or Handsome Jack. But I think this is actually going to be a completely unique character. I really hope that's the case. I really hope that they go with original ideas with Borderlands 4. There's definitely been too much recycling in the past, which has damaged a lot of the story. But it seems this guy is an original character, because the Timekeeper is mentioned in some of the Borderlands lore so far. There's comment of him in Borderlands 3 on one of the Iridian tablets.
With Pandora sealed and the Destroyer chained within, the greatest of the Iridian secrets is put to rest. It would be folly for me to think, though, that this is the last of them. There are countless other wonders or tears they hid across the stars before my time. For every grave ward, traveler, or timekeeper, there are surely a dozen more slumbering in forgotten vaults.
And I think that the timekeeper was actually in a vault, so there's going to be a heck of a lot of story to uncover there as to how this guy is not in a vault anymore. How is he in a planet that's got this weird kind of hidden atmosphere around it, keeping it a secret. So that's really good as well. I hope that means that we've got some interesting story and some mysteries to dig up. These are obviously a warring faction, so Queen Callis and the Timekeeper are at odds. Whether that means that we will at some point have any connection to either of the two factions, or whether we'll get like a Clint Eastwood style situation where we can play them both off against each other. That might be quite interesting. Elpis having arrived here, I believe there is quite a period of time that has passed since the events of Borderlands 3. So Lilith and Elpis will have been here for some time, and I assume that you'll get some older Borderlands vibes with Lilith perhaps having started a resistance or joined with a local resistance that's working towards taking these enemies down. So that will be hopefully some nice infiltrating and sneaking around and being one of the underdogs as usual. Lots of different enemy types here with the Timekeeper's forces as well. You've got these kind of grunt, run-of-the-mill kind of units. And then these flying guys with the scythes seem quite interesting, sort of almost mage-like. You've got some more tanky-looking enemies there, as well as these big kind of robotic, sort of semi-robotic, organic sort of units here on the front as well. Worth noting that we've got a bit of a Hyperion, a yellowy look to these sort of organic tanky units. I really hope that this is all original stuff and it's not just a twist on the same old things again. But it does look like we've got quite a lot of difference in the art style. We've got some fresh looking stuff here, and I hope that that's the approach that Gearbox has gone with. Now we get a few locations. This doesn't look too similar to anything in Borderlands 3, although you will see some of the sort of palettes they've gone for. Some of the locations do look very Borderlands 3, but this looks quite interesting. It's a nice sort of cyberpunky, sort of lo-fi feel to this area. Interesting grid that's kind of going over the skyline there, and you've got some sort of greenhousey set up in the background, a glass dome of sorts. Gonna try and just take these one at a time. Some of these flash through quite quick. This is obviously more of a bandity area. It does give me quite sort of vibes of Fallen from Destiny. The sort of use of lots of roundness and large pipes with the hanging wires is less familiar of Borderlands, although it's got that junker sort of low-tech sort of vibe to it. So I feel like there's maybe a bit of an influence there. These like poles coming up out of the sides of the floor, like with the skulls and that on. It's very Borderlandsy, but the mix of those things does feel a little bit Destiny. Especially if you're sort of thinking of Seaver. Seaver was what I was thinking earlier. Seaver is definitely sort of feels like it might have a similar idea behind it as that red on the technology that's on all of the Rippers. Definitely got a Seaver vibe. I really hope they don't go down copying Destiny lines, because let's not get into that. Different video. But yeah, this looks like a different area, a bit different again. Like it. You've got the sort of spray painted motif up the top there. Fire coming out, definitely a sort of ripper area. And these do flash through so quick. Here we got more of a snowy area. I'm getting three horns kind of vibes here. You've got Elpis in the background with the scar in the sky, we'll call it. Different kind of technology here, although you do have a repetition of these red lights again. I don't think that that's any indication that they would be connected to the Rippers. I think that's just the stylistic they've gone here. There's a bit more sort of Star Warsy, quite sort of large sort of mega structures built into this large mountain. Different from those other two. Definitely gives the impression that we're going to get a nice variety of locations, even if it is just on this one planet. This next area feels a bit more standard Borderlands 3-ish, more standard tech. I assume that there's maybe some consistency there with these red lights, maybe meaning that this is the internals of that structure we just saw outside. Not necessarily the case, but that would be my first impression. Similar sort of technology in the way that that's designed and looks. And here we're starting to get a look at those Rippers. This one is Eddie Gordo, and pulling off some sweet moves while he's presumably attacking you. That should be fun to fight. And worth noting, the background style with the big pipes, very circular kind of theme. That definitely looks like the internal to that sort of fallen area that we saw outside just now. So this is looking like it's probably lower down in that mountain setting. You've got the red lights on the structures in the background again, still red lights with this sort of black metal theme. Just a little bit of a closer look at this area. You've got a number of bits of scenery around. You do have an enemy down the bottom there, although I can't see anything too specific about him. Elpis obviously floating still in the background there. Looks a little bit different, looks cool. This guy's just chilling. This is maybe sort of heading more in the sort of direction of a hub area in the game, main kind of city. This has Promethea kind of vibes in terms of the way that it's laid out. You've got this painting on the wall of this this kid, I guess, with the sort of red triangle over his eyes. So I don't know if that's going to be some sort of character that's maybe part of the resistance or something like that. This is like a freedom fighter mural that's been put up. This guy here is just kicking back and chilling, so it's nice to see that you can still take it easy when you want. Lots of exciting technology here. See if we can just zoom in on that screen and see if we can see anything interesting. Obviously got some sort of logo or branding. So this little guy is one of the Timekeeper's augmented organic units. A little bit different than the ones we saw earlier. This panel on his head, I don't know if that's a solar panel or some kind of powering maybe for him. It might not be an enemy. This might be sort of more of a drone or an ambient kind of not wildlife, but it could be something that's just like a service bot, something like that, maybe just going around doing a specific task. The panel on his head does seem, from a gameplay perspective, quite specific, and that makes me wonder whether maybe this guy will be in an area where perhaps there's like some higher areas to get to, some sort of jump puzzly thing, and perhaps this guy will sort of do a headbutt if you sort of provoke him, but if you time it right or jump on his head, maybe you'll be able to get a flick up to a different kind of height. That might be me overthinking it, but that's just my thoughts on that. New location here. I don't think we've really seen anything connected to this yet, although it may be sort of related to that area where we saw the guy just chilling out. You've got a sort of shrine up the top there, quite pretty. Different kinds of lighting. Yeah, again, you do have murals on the background, although I can't really see much detail on that at all. Lots of little trinkets. Feels a lot more lived in. Feels a lot more like a hub kind of area, NPC area maybe, where we get to have a bit of a hideaway. The pink and the sort of stuff on the shrine at the top there. Maybe this is something to do with Lilith's resistance. Maybe this is an underground area where they've sort of hidden away from the timekeeper, and they're making plans, and we'll maybe get quests or something from here. I guess this is connected to those buildings we saw earlier. You've got some posters in the background here. This is presumably the timekeeper, sort of Big Brother vibes, just looking down, and very much like the Handsome Jack posters of old. So these are presumably the new Vault Hunters. A little bit lackluster. I know a lot of people are definitely not really vibing with these. My first impression was, wow, those are totally bland. These have to be badly made custom characters, and they're just trying to show off all the different kinds of things you could have, because most of these guys have lots of little details on them and little bits of technology, and that's spread throughout, but at the same time they don't really have a good cohesion to make them feel like interesting characters, not in the way that the previous lineups in Borderlands games have been very iconic. So we'll have to wait and see what the score is with that, but as with some other things we'll discuss in this video, there is a possibility that these are going to be completely customizable characters. Customization is something that Gearbox is obviously working on. They worked towards it to be more of a thing that was implemented in Wonderlands. I think deep down they've always wanted to do just completely custom characters, so whether you'd pick a class similar to Wonderlands and then you do your own kind of look or your vibe that you want, and you'll open up other cosmetics as you play through. It's hard to say, but if these are the set characters in their default setups, that is a bit disappointing, but hopefully they will still be enjoyable and fun. We'll just have to wait and see on that. The guy on the left here has got sort of a bit of a robo sort of exoskeleton vibe going on with him, and in a minute you'll see some more with that. Second one in from the left here is our Siren character. Pretty cool coat. I think out of all of them, she's probably the character I think looks the most interesting. The kind of these cylinders coming off of her gloves sort of have a cool tech vibe to them, and just the bit of a cyberpunky look to her. The big guy's kind of cool. The robotic components and things, I get kind of a Viking-y vibe with him, and then some of the abilities we see, so maybe that's the inspiration there. And the last chick on the right, she's got sort of these big pipes coming out of her legs, so I don't know if that's like maybe an implication that she's going to maybe have some sort of way of floating, or like sort of not a jet, but maybe something that sort of propels her around, makes her quite sort of floaty as a character, but we will have to wait and see. A little bit of a closer look at the characters there. Definitely trying to solidify them as our new heroes. Just having a look in the background there where we first saw them. Just worth noting this massive machine that is in the background here that is doing something. Sort of a gyroscopic kind of movement there. That definitely feels like it's sort of hinting at something. Maybe that's the power source for the shield that was hiding the planet, and maybe we'll have to do something about that. Maybe that's something to do with the Timekeeper, very pivotal power station for him, or some sort of weapon or something that we're going to have to look at. But definitely seems deliberate that they've left that in the background while showing us the Vault Hunters, just to try and, you know, just give us a little bit of magic there, a little bit of a trick to make us look away from the real important part of the scenery. Here we got the big guy slamming down, bit of a superhero landing. That gives the impression that it's going to be one of his abilities, or something we can open on the skill tree. And now we start to see some guns. For the first sort of gun they've showed off, it's interesting. Interesting and cool are like my default things to say, but I don't think there's really too much more I can say. It just looks like a bit of an abomination, really, but if it's fun to play, then it's fun to play. Another one here. I like the look of this one more. Cooler sort of design to it, where it's firing is pretty interesting, with the chamber being sort of exposed on the muzzle there. Yeah, definitely a cooler one, and then a little sort of power source at the back, presumably instead of an ammo. So maybe that's going to be, it doesn't look like a bandit weapon, but maybe this could be an equivalent of that kind of thing. So maybe we'll get weapons that are more energy based as a standard thing, and maybe have like a similar mechanic where the power source will just drain a bit before it needs to cool down or whatever. And we see our Vault Hunter here as well. Harkening back to my thought about the pipes, you can see on her back here, she does seem to have this sort of jetty little sort of device, this sort of thing that might be something that allows her to move around in interesting ways. This is the Vault Hunter from the far left that had the exoskeleton on. He's got these sort of light blades that he's dancing around with, so that does look pretty fun. The Siren character on the right here with some sort of pistol that looks a little bit Borderlands 2, with the sort of the dual the dual sort of ammo chambers on the left and right. Behind them both, you can see what appears to be another enemy type that would be part of the Timekeeper's lineup, with these weird kind of pentagonal funnels on the back of them. That sort of feels like it could be an enemy that maybe blasts out kind of like a sound wavy kind of thing, or something sort of blasts you back. Obviously just my random speculation. Back to a Ripper style enemy here. This guy has got some extra arms, and he's also got one super massive arm. Very, very augmented. You can see all the bits of technology spread out all over him. He's got a number of different weapons that seem very very sort of basic, sort of couple of wrench kind of things, and a bat. He's got some interesting attacks by the look of it, slamming his back arms together. What else have we got in the background there? This area is the first we've looked at that looks a bit more traditional Borderlands. You've got the bones here coming out of the floor, a lot more sort of rocky and arid. Got some bunkers on the side. It's still that low sort of tech, but yeah, there's definitely a lot more traditional Borderlands to that shot there, which looks good. I like that. Back to our Siren character, using here an sort of ion cannon, laser beam sort of weapon. Then we see our first vehicle. This seems more lush than the area we just saw, so we've now got more of a green sort of highlandy area. That's probably about our 5th or 6th different sort of biome, sort of area variety there. This vehicle seems to just pop up. I can't see that there's like a catch a ride equivalent machine here, which makes me feel like maybe this is going to be more of a Destiny pop out your Sparrow kind of scenario. Our vehicle will just be on command. We'll be able to set it up how we like, but you've got this one thing to the left here which appears to be like a windmill, a power source windmill, but I don't see any other unit around her that implies that she would have needed to go to a physical location in order to call up that vehicle. We then see another vehicle immediately afterwards, which is also driven by the big guy, the Viking. This one's more of a kind of gnarly motorbike. Maybe you have a specific vehicle for each of the Vault Hunters, so they have their own bespoke one, as well as any that you might be able to unlock and collect. This appears to be an older version of Zane. I find it interesting that Zane's hologram here is still the younger version. That seems kind of odd, but Zane here has grown his hair a bit longer. He's got a little bit of a new sort of style to his attire. This will presumably be a quest giver for us, someone who's going to be sending us out on little missions. So good to see that he's back. Now I think we've just got a few other friendlies that we're going to be interacting with in the story. This guy here's got a bit of a smirk and a bit of a sort of friendlier look to him, so I don't think this is an enemy. This looks like an ally to me. Looks like someone who's going to be helping us out on Kairos. We've got this chick here, bit of an elven look to her, and I think this background here is yet again another location style, very angular. We've got these big archways on the left, which are pretty much the geometry of your standard vault symbol. So whether that's just a coincidence, I don't know, or whether this is some area that is going to be of high importance to Vault Hunters. She is obviously very affluent. Her clothing is very fancy. You've got all this gold trim and all these other little kind of components on her. And she has these glowing blue eyes. So it's worth noting that the Rippers all have that red light to them. This chick has a blue light to them. And she still has some different kind of augments to her. So whether maybe this is another kind of technology, couldn't say for definite. Or maybe this chick is sort of a different kind of siren. So she's not a siren per se. But she could be a being with some kind of other powers. So once again, referring to that idea that things looked a little bit elven, I get, with the vibe of the area, the architecture, and her sort of style. Who knows? Here's Claptrap being Claptrap. In that green area, the lush area, you can see these sort of bone structures. You've obviously got some bones that the trees are growing out of here. Very, very typical Borderlands. Whether that's relation to any enemies in the game would be hard to say, but it's nice to see that there's that consistency with the sort of Borderlands look. Now we see some guns raining down. We always want to see this with Borderlands. That is, at the end of the day, the biggest part of what the game is about: getting loot, getting gear, being able to gear up and take on bigger and better challenges. Standard sort of layout to things here. It looks like, I'm not sure if every legendary has this rainbow effect coming off of it as well to just make it clearer, or whether that's something that will be indicating an additional augment, a different bonus to those items, so that maybe even better than they might be normally, similar to how you had the Anointed having a bit of a different gold beam, and you also have in Wonderlands a number of different beam types for very, very high weapon rarities. Then we've got a wide shot, and that's looking towards an area that I don't think we've seen. Whether that's that same structure that we saw behind the Elven-style woman, I don't think so. It looks more grey, although it has a similar kind of architecture. It looks a bit more futuristic, whereas that looked a bit more sort of natural formations to some of it. This is the green area still. You've got this sort of track running through the middle, so whether there'll be some sort of like train system or something that is moving around the world is hard to say. My understanding is that Randy Pitchford have made some pretty big comments about this shot, making a statement that you can go anywhere in the view here seamlessly. When he was pressed on this, because people joked, oh well, the moon's there as well, he also then seemed to double down and say that yeah, anywhere in this shot you can go to seamlessly. So I think Gearbox have always been desperate to have a more of an open world set up to their games. People have in the past complained about the load spaces and things like that, which have stopped them from having enjoyment, stopped them from engaging properly with Borderlands. So they've always been working towards this. So if they do achieve it, bravo to them. I just really hope that it doesn't come with any kind of shortfallings in the rest of the game. The load screens were never really a problem for me. It's just, you know, that's gaming. You know, you have certain limitations in order to get other bonuses. So if the open world means that then other areas of the game are going to be minimized, then that to me is a massive problem. But I hope that they manage to do this, get it up to date like a GTA, like a Destiny, have a nice big open space, lots of exploration, but as long as they still keep the density of all the fun little hidden secrets, all the like details that they include in all the other Borderlands games. This is back to that area we saw earlier, which I suggested might be like a more of a friendly area. Some weird little spark over to the side there, but not really see what that is. So just move on. Back to the snowy area. You can see this thing powering up on the right. The pink flames are reminiscent of Iridium, and obviously the glow coming from Elpis. So I don't know if that's some sort of connection to Iridium in this game, or connection to some sort of siren, something like that. But yeah, just another view on that snowy area. Grassy area again, and this time we're getting a bit of a closer look at some of the architecture, some of the structures. A lot more industrial feel to this area, but still very clean. Like, I like the white. That looks different than anything else we've seen so far. Got a gun here that feels very similar to a lot of stuff from Borderlands 3. Another Ripper enemy here. This guy's got sort of a bit of a junkyard on his back going on, like a megaphone, little umbrella, lots of little things. Ground pounding, smashing the floor, different kinds of attacks. So probably a slower, heavier enemy. We've not seen anything like that just yet. He mad. Here we have some fauna, we have some plant life. This is a weird kind of mutated flower plant thing. Bit different than anything I could think off the top of my head that I've seen in the Borderlands series before. Spitting some sort of presumably poison projectiles. That guy is a similar character model to the guy we saw with two arms out of his back, slamming the wrenches together earlier. Little bit different version of that character. So that might be to do with how their procedural system works in this, because there's not only RNG in Borderlands games in terms of how the guns and equipment will drop from loot sources, but historically the Borderlands games do RNG with how their characters are created. So when enemies spawn, there'll be a number of different archetypes and then variations of those characters that can can manifest. So it's pretty interesting seeing this guy just a bit different, a little bit less augmented than that other chap we saw earlier. In the background here, you've got the round technology again, so probably a similar area, although the white rock is a bit different. This area seems a bit more arid than that, so maybe just this is maybe just the sort of the Rippers kind of vibe for their general sort of areas. Here we're having a look at some more of the Timekeeper's troops. This augmented soldier here, a bit more of a standard grunt. He's got a gun there that looks a little bit fancy. And then behind him, one of the more wizardy looking guys. Here we've got a wildlife enemy, sort of a bit of a different play on the skag. Similar kind of quadruped, but yeah, very fancy headdress and spines and all these spikes and bits and pieces coming out of them. They look fun. This guy definitely seems like one of the Rippers. He's got the red lights on the technology. He's got these red blades. He's a little bit different with the colour and tone and the pipes coming out of here. So I don't know if this is going to be like a bit of an offshoot from the main Rippers, but this look of technology is definitely similar to that more rounded architecture. He fits in that kind of theme. Looks like he's up for a fight anyway. Bit of a Hayabusa, this guy. Here we see the big guy, the Viking, using a grappling hook to sort of latch onto this little node. Whether this will be a permanent ability or whether this will be more of a quest-specific thing will be interesting. Having the grappling hook be more sort of set by nodes feels very limiting, so if they are using this as ability for a character, I really hope there's a lot of nodes, because otherwise that could be just a bit of a waste. Different kind of gun here. That does look a little bit unique. It looks like Hyper Maliwan. Really, really chunky, but still those smooth sort of lines. So we've got a bit of combat here. You've got some of the Timekeeper's troops, a few of the grunts on the left there, and one of the sort of wizardy characters, Sorcerer, on the right. You have this glowing character at the back, which to me, it's been a thing in the past where Borderlands 2 in particular, they were trying to make it so that so that different elemental enemy types could empower some of their companions. So in particular, like an electric skag could empower its pups to be electric. I know there was a big thing made about that near the start of the launch of Borderlands 2, although not much of a fuss was made about it during its life cycle, but you can see it happen when you're in the game. So I wonder if this wizard guy is empowering or just modifying one of the grunt troops, making them sort of a bit of a frenzied or a flamed enemy or something. We see the big guy activate some sort of ability here. You've got these nodes that jump up and then turn into a fire axe and a frost axe. Slash! I definitely get those kind of vibes with this character. And then he holds that out. First time seeing the proper Borderlands 4 logo there. Back to the Timekeeper. You've got a lot of the Rippers here spread about on the floor. Bits of their technology all broken up. Elpis in the background with the shattered sky. And this vault symbol, which looks very different. This vault symbol is different than anything else we've ever seen, because normally all of the vaults we've seen in the past have always been rock structures that will power up and kind of reconnect to create the door, but this doorway here is completely mechanical and metal by the look of it. So it's something completely new, whether that's some fabrication, maybe something the Timekeeper's doing to try and sort of bypass the system, as it were. Maybe he's sort of finding his own way into vaults. We see it power up there as he levitates. So there we go, and confirmation that it is out this year, 2025. So make sure that you do wishlist that. Go and let the developers know that you are keen for that game to be incoming. Just after this, there is a number of ciphers and little symbols and bits that come up. People have worked through those and do know what some of that says, but I haven't worked any of that out. I'm not going to go and steal someone else's work, so just do a little Google if you want to find out what those are about. And I guess that's it. So thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed this little look at the Borderlands 4 gameplay trailer. I'm pretty excited for the game. As many reservations as I have, worried that they will make odd decisions, I do think that this does look like it has good potential and should be a lot of fun. So let me know what you think about the Borderlands 4 trailer, and I'll catch you next time, Vault Hunters. Take it easy. Peace out.